I'm sorry I can't tell you everything, but maybe we can work something out. But first, I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I have the honor? Where are you from?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh, I'm sorry. What about your kin?
They're dead.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Here, we'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless. We had no warning. They just appeared and began the slaughter. God knows why.
Ale for me?
They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. My parents, my girl, even the Deutsch who was on Sigismund's side. I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my heels. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There was a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovna. Folk who tried to take refuge there, but they...
My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch, Bernard.
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Uzhitz, so he sent me here to follow it up.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. We'll have to drink to that. Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Neuhof? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things, but I take most of it with a pinch of salt.
The rumours aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhof stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. They only wanted to kill. They maimed the horses and slaughtered some people. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarrelled among themselves and broke off the attack. And judging by what's left of our Lubosh, they're still settling accounts.
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Dreadful. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and so terribly.
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our parish priest at home.
Here you are.
Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business. So, about this confessional seal. Do you really want more innocent people to die?
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, you'll forever be tempted to do it again. If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse than even the most hideous crime.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again and I can't stop them.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But, first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you.
Word of honor?
On my soul.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation. Where on earth do you get the ideas for your sermons?
Well, Uzhitz isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the Bible, I'd soon be preaching to an empty church.
Our priest wasn't exactly a bard. So what do you preach to your flock about?
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And, of course, describing them in detail. The tongue-lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life, with a nice moral to them, are popular as well. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and the people liked it. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus about Mother Church. The lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned to poison. and nearly the whole of Christendom is contaminated.
There.
Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to devour every grain of gold and silver. They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing for wealth, and they shamelessly profit from everything. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolution. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their whores in expensive furs, while Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no place to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too. Amen.
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregation will love it.
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny. That last bit reminds me of someone.
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach to. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse those stuffed habits in Sasau Monastery.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when someone boozes and lives in sin with a woman and then criticises the Pope for debauchery?
No, I don't.
What do you think of this Jan Hus?
He's certainly a wise man. A little overzealous for my taste. If he got out of Prague and came here for a look,
My pleasure.
I'm sure he'd stop condemning drinking and lying with women.
Where can I find out more about his teachings?
You like it?
Enjoy.
I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at my presbytery.
What do the common folk think of it?
They like it. They're happy to hear someone say what they think themselves, but are afraid to say aloud. Things that make them angry. And they're calling for change. In a few years, it'll have grown beyond control. You mark my words, the people will rise up, and the church will be shaken to its very foundations.
Yeah, unless they burn him at the stake first.
Nonsense. They can't burn a master of the most respected university in Europe.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been morally uplifted enough. Oh, it's getting quite late. What are your plans, Father?
What do you suppose? We have a drink, of course.
Ah, that sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Przyszła bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj padł dziesnej smutek, do dnielo i rano utek, niech już małżeński majstrat, do wczera żylne staje prak. Už sejmoj svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejmě i kůži. Nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požadem si huby jako poslední den. Půjďme se bávy, panorama slávy a pak vypal sudy a posaď se mi sem. Tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zítra jen tu soudnej den. Tak nalej mi hned, ať točí se svět.
Enough of this!
Bailiff! Come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can ride is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
Oh. You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up. trouble. We can have a bit of a punch-up.
You get one. Oh!
Mrtka!
Over here.
Watch the step, my dears. Careful, you don't hurt yourself.
Godwin, you're a buffoon.
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath. And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Godwin, you beast. Get up. Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards.
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. My poor suffering stomach. What was that woman on about? Before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me. I'd like to help you, but you can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look. From what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
So all at once the confessional seal isn't so sacred?
Don't mock me. I won't give you a second chance.
Well, all right. But I can't make any promises about what'll happen.
No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tavern, and that's that. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what I know about Lubosh.
Christ almighty. Fine then. We have a deal.
Wonderful. Let's get to it then.
Never show up. The swill dog.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait.
Look at him. Mother of God. Any minute now he'll throw up.
So I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hoc facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God,
was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
That boy has a cheek.
One should not believe in the church, because the church is not God. God is above all things, and the church is but a means to salvation, which the prelates do not care to hear.
He's right.
It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, cumens, hunger, and chaos. The accursed wealth that the church is drowning in is poisoning almost the whole of Christendom. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of ravens that has descended on this land to peck up every speck of gold and silver. They show no mercy. Their hearts are poisoned by covetousness. They trade everything. Everything is for sale. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay, and you will have absolution. And the prelates sin and give themselves absolution.
For shame! Shame upon them!
And what sins? They live with harlots and keep concubines, even though only marital intercourse for the purpose of procreation is pure. If someone takes a woman or man only to satisfy their own lust, who seduces them to do so but Satan? And how much darker the sin if that man is a servant of the church? Who can turn his face to God, who fornicates and then puts on priestly robes?
Nothing we don't know about already.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and whose absolution they promise if you only pay enough coin to Mother Church. What if the devil himself were to pay? Will the bishops tell us he too would ascend to heaven? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they keep fine horses and hordes of servants to pamper them. They play dice and garb their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, walked barefoot and had nowhere to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too.
Down with the prelates. Away with them.
We're fortunate to have our good Father Godwin. At least he's a fair and simple man.
God sees what is happening on earth, and he is filled with righteous wrath that those who should seek the salvation of souls instead seek mammon and the idle comfort of lucrative posts. Blessed are the shepherds who share the poverty of their flock, who are as one with you and bear with you the burden of this earthly pilgrimage, who do not condemn your venial sins.
Aye, all honor to Godwin. Let him drink like one of us.
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that was.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a silver
Glad he
tongue.
came here. I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague, and he told it nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed.
I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So's gluttony. And fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you...
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out? Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhof.
That would explain something. Lubosh kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubosh killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it.